You can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. Thank you for joining us today. We still have some attendees logging on, so we'll give it another minute or so before we get started. All right, happy Friday and welcome to an awesome co-op marketing by the numbers webinar with our friends at Rivet MRO and some very special panelists. My name is Rebecca Moore and I am the marketing coordinator for the electrical and industrial business unit here at AD. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone's mics have been muted upon entry. Should you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to type them in the chat box or Q&A at the bottom of the page. And we'll be sure to answer your Q&A questions at the end of the webinar. We will also be having a few poll questions pop up throughout the webinar, and to get the most out of your time with us today, we'd appreciate your involvement in answering them as they come along. We are also recording this webinar and we'll be posting it to both adhq.com and our AD Education Center following the sessions. We will also be sending out the slides from today's session for you to have. So I'd like to welcome our awesome lineup of panelists for today's webinar. We have Tanya Ware, the marketing manager at PSS Industrial, Junior Hebron, the executive vice president at Mid-State Supply, Tommy Black, the president and COO at Black & Company, Kristen Foff, the former communications manager at ITW Programs and current director of marketing services at Rivet MRO. And last but not least, we have the founder of Rivet MRO, Tim Rasmussen, who I'll send it over now to get started.
Great. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We're excited to have you listen in, and hopefully we'll teach you something about co-op that you didn't know, and more importantly, help you find and claim more co-op funds. The title of our webinar this afternoon or this morning, depending upon where you are, is Co-op Marketing by the Numbers. So we're going to try to give you some inside views of how co-op marketing is used and how you can drive results, numerical results, using co-op marketing. And there's a little bit of a backstory before we get started. I used to be the director of marketing for a large AD supplier, and I hate to invoke the G word on an AD call, but yes, we sold to Grainger. In Grainger, I promise you, got every dime of co-op money coming to them and then some. We gave the same terms to AD, but the difference was AD members had to individually claim the co-op. And literally, somewhere around the neighborhood of 10%, in a good year, maybe 15% of those dollars, and they were not unsubstantial dollars, were claimed by AD members. So I talked to people just like you. I asked them one question: why don't you take this free money we've been trying to give you? We heard all kinds of answers, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But suffice to say, co-op is kind of a frustrating, cumbersome topic, and it's not easy to manage, and that's why we're here. We're here to solve the problem, helping you find co-op, and helping you put that money to productive use. So with that, we'll jump in. And we have a quick poll question. What percentage of the available co-op funds for your distributorship do you think you use? What percentage of available co-op funds for your distributorship do you think you use? Please enter your answer. Tally those, and then we'll have a little bit more information. We're going to have another follow-up question after this to try to compare the before and after. Because once we do this, we're going to take you through some metrics, and there might be more co-op money out there than. Okay. So, 47% believe that they're getting less than 25%. Another 21% believe they're getting half to a quarter. And you can see the rest of the numbers there. So I think that's a very accurate description. So a lot of you are leaving money on the table, and that's probably why you're here today. Interesting stuff. So here's what we're going to go through. We're going to give a little bit of a Rivet MRO commercial, but this is really about education rather than promotion. We'll talk about how much co-op money you're leaving on the table and why those funds go unclaimed, and moreover, what we can do about it. We have a program called Co-Optimizer that we think helps with that, and we'll give you some examples of how funds found through our Co-Optimizer program have been leveraged successfully with our customers. And then we're going to give you 10.5 tips to help you maximize your co-op marketing funds. So very quickly, Rivet MRO is a full-service marketing agency that focuses exclusively on independent distributors. And we work with strategic services like consulting and segmentation analysis, but we also have creative services like graphics, animation, videos, and clickable catalogs. And we're known for our Co-Optimizer program. But rather than having me blather on, we have a short video that kind of tells the story more succinctly.
Rivet MRO is your full-service marketing resource organization with industrial strength experience helping independent distributors like you gain exceptional insight and make more intelligent business decisions by providing all the strategic services and marketing solutions you need to secure your place in the market. You probably know us for our breakthrough Co-Optimizer Co-op Maximizer program, which focuses exclusively on helping independent distributors find and maximize co-op marketing funds. And it's risk-free. We don't bill you or begin work on your project until your co-op funds are approved. It literally costs you nothing. But we also serve as a comprehensive marketing resource that every independent industrial, electrical, and construction distributor needs. We provide everything from research and analytics to strategy and social media management. We also specialize in website development, animated videos like this one, and even promotional products. We cover you from start to finish, finding the funds you need and putting them to work to grow your business. Plus, we offer marketing data analysis to understand where those funds will have the best impact and creative resources to turn that analysis into actions that drive results. Nobody else has our mix of experience and expertise, and nobody else is better prepared to help you secure your place. Contact us today to get started.
Moving on to our Co-Optimizer program, simply put, we find free money for you to spend with us. And what we do is we help you find both the co-op dollars, but help you then put together business cases to make those co-op dollars work with your suppliers and to grow your business. So we do the research, the planning, the execution, and the paperwork. And the best thing is there's no cost to you. It's entirely supplier funded, so there's no net cost to you. Yes, there's a cost to it, but it is bared by your suppliers. And our focus is on AD members. We are a service provider. The bulk of our clients, I would say 40 out of our 42 clients are AD members. And our customers have revenues ranging from $6 million to $175 million, so we cover large and small. And we're used to managing dozens of projects at the same time. And our business has been built through referrals. Satisfied customers has been the best way for us to grow our business, and we're focused exclusively on businesses like yours. So with that, let's jump into the topic at hand and talk about co-op marketing, specifically how much money you're leaving on the table. So we asked the question at the beginning, how much we thought we were leaving on the table. I think we got some pretty candid answers. According to research from the local search association, they believe that there are more than $70 billion in co-op funds offered every year by U.S. manufacturers. That's across all industry. That might be automotive or food processing, but it's a lot of money. And it also, of course, happens in the industrial MRO space. So somewhere between 14 billion and 35 billion, so between a quarter and a half of those funds go unclaimed every year according to estimates. I would submit to you that those percentages are even lower in your space, and the initial poll bears that out. And fully 42% of businesses that qualify for co-op funds fail to take advantage of them. So again, we're leaving a ton of money on the table. That's why we're here today to help remedy that situation. So let's open it up to our panel. Let's talk about your experience in the past. Why didn't you claim co-op marketing funds? Tommy, any experience from Black & Company?
Absolutely. I think for us, Tim, it was primarily, probably like many other affiliates within the industrial and safety division, it came down to resources for us. We had the budgets and we had the ability to track, but the programs, supplier to supplier, there were variations and it required us to delineate, okay, how do we conform with this program for Dynabrade? How do we conform to this program for 3M? And it got to a point where conforming and some with print agreements and others with social type agreements, it got tough to manage for us. So we focused on the large chunks and we did okay with those, but we always left quite a bit of money on the table. And that's why when you reached out in 2018 and established a dialogue with us, we saw tremendous value in giving it a go with the pilot program. So for us, it was just it was challenging to manage with lack of resources, not having a dedicated marketing department.
Thank you. Junior, Tanya, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would add to what Tommy said, some of the lower hanging fruit, the more easy to use programs, those are the ones that we tended to gravitate to. When you had some of the programs that suppliers offered that were quite complex, for whatever reason, it was just, too much effort. And we tend to let those go. With your guys' assistance, we've been able to capitalize on a lot of those.
Just one more point I wanted to add was exactly how Tommy and Junior put it, but we also had deadlines, that we would miss just because we didn't have resources. And then when it came down to what we could do for them to collect the money, we just ran out of time. So.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing it. And it's not an uncommon experience. There's all kinds of reasons. Oftentimes distributors aren't aware of the opportunity. The process is inconsistent, confusing. And there's lots of bureaucracy and red tape surrounding it. And so, our goal is to try to reduce all of these issues and allow you to work on the press of business at the distributor level and let us do what we do well. Okay, so here's another poll question. What's your biggest challenge or frustration with claiming co-op? So we talked about a lot of these issues. Just from your perspective, I want to get a sense of where the audience lies with your biggest frustration. So pick the one here that resonates most with you. You're unaware of the opportunity, the rules are confusing, brand compliance issues, inconsistent procedures, cumbersome claims process or paperwork, or time and resource limitations. And chances are all of these apply to you, but we're curious which one is the most. Okay. Time and resource limitations, that's the biggest one, followed by unaware of the opportunity and then cumbersome claims process. Again, not surprised by these results, but most independent distributors don't have a huge marketing team like, again, to invoke the G word, Granger. They have armies of marketing people who can pursue this stuff. Most independents simply don't have that resource, so you're at a disadvantage from the jump. I want to talk about this. So we asked the first question that we asked was, how much do you think you're leaving on the table? And I want to go through some metrics here and help you try to extrapolate this to your own business. And I'm going to ask the question again in a slightly different way. So, but before we do that, I want to take a look at the business case of co-op. So let's assume, it's not unusual for a client of ours to find $30,000 in co-op funds, give or take. So let's talk about what it takes to earn $30,000 in your business to spend $30,000 on marketing. So the average independent distributor has somewhere in the neighborhood of a 23% gross margin. And generally that nets down to around 3% in terms of an after-tax profit. Marketing dollars, I would contend, since they are an expense, would be a bottom line expense. So they'd be 3% dollars. So that would mean you would need to sell $1 million in product, give or take, to earn $30,000 to spend on marketing. So the question is, how much time, how much money, how much resource would you put in to a slam dunk $1 million sale? Because finding $30,000 in co-op funds is like making a $1 million sale. Interesting way to think about it. So you're not taking a lot of shots. Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. We're here to help you take more shots and more than that, score some goals. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's talk about how much you're leaving on the table. We have a calculator on our website that will help you walk through this. Let's enter these numbers in. I'm going to enter this in for a $10 million distributor, and that way you can pretty easily extrapolate these dollars to your own business. So we put it here at $10 million for the revenue. And this next question is really about what percentage of your sales are branded product that you buy directly from suppliers. So we want to eliminate services, wholesale, and private label. And the next question on the calculator is what percentage of your out-the-door business is with suppliers where you have a spend of $50,000 or more? So this puts us in a goalpost. It's gonna vary, but a $10 million distributor could reasonably expect to get $24,000 or more in co-op marketing funds. Now, you won't use all those funds. Some of them may be 50-50. It might be with the supplier that you're having problems with, but the funds are there if you were to gain them all. So if you take a look at it and just do something simple as, say, $25,000 or $30,000 for $10 million in revenue, the question becomes is how much money are you really leaving on the table? So I'll help do some math. I'm going to go through here very quickly. Here's and look at this low end number just as the conservative number. Here's 15 million. So 25 million to be at $61,000. At 35 million to be $86,000. 50 million be at 123,000. So we can keep going, but you get the idea. You can extrapolate that yourselves. So now we have a new poll question. Actually, I'm going to give you some time to work that calculation on a scratch pad, but I do have another poll question very quickly. How do you use your co-op funds? Promotional items, sales promotions, videos, catalogs and brochures, sales spiffs, search engine optimization, web banners, sponsorships, or other. So promotional items, just to be clear, anything that you put your logo on. It could be a calendar, it could be a golf shirt, it could be pens and a notepad. That's all lumped into promotional items. So check all that apply here. We're not limiting you to one answer. Check all that apply. We're just curious how they're, generally speaking, how they're used with this audience. So 60% use promotional items, not a shock. That's easily popular among independent distributors. Sales promotions ranks higher than I thought it would. Then followed by catalogs and brochures, sales spiffs and web banners, relatively few sponsorships, and very few videos. So yeah, promotional items are hugely popular with this group, and you know, I think there's a good reason for that. But I think the primary reason for that is simply that they're the easiest to execute. Most of you know somebody who sells promotional products, and it doesn't require a lot of effort to put together a request for golf balls or golf shirts or something like that. But we're going to show you some other things to consider. So with that, I want to bring in Tanya Ware, who is the marketing communications manager for PSS Industrial in Houston. And we just started working with Tanya and her team the very beginning of the fourth quarter last year. And she had kind of an interesting experience with us. So Tanya, tell us a little bit about what co-op was like for you before we started working, and then the role that we played in the process and the results we were able to drive.
Okay, so when we first got started, the year before, I was able to collect roughly $125,000, and that was working on it all year long. So then last year, I got involved in our e-commerce, and so that took the majority, like 99% of my time. And so I reached out to Tim, and they got started with us literally, I'd say the first week of October. So they had October, November, and December. And in that amount of time, they collected $70,000. So for 3 months, I'd say that's really good. And they collected from vendors I had never been able to collect from, because I had never been able to give them what they required. And so I was very well impressed, because like I said, we for the first time were able to collect against vendors last year. So they did an impeccable job.
Kind. So why do you think that was? Is it reflective of the time and bandwidth issue? You just didn't have the time to pursue all those folks?
We did not. Unfortunately, we did not have the resources. Definitely didn't have the time. Every time we would get started on one, we did go after some of the big ones, but some of the things they required, we just didn't have the time to get it done. And we had several out of that 70,000 that was due by December 31st. And Tim and his team were able to get it done by then, which it still surprises me how y'all were able to do it. But they did several, as the slide shows, they did several different promotional items for us, and every vendor loved them. They loved all of it. And we are very thankful for Tim and his team.
Fine, thank you. So, you know, you've done promotional products heavily in the past, but the videos were new to you to you this year, weren't they?
Yes, he did one for a vendor of ours, Earl from Milwaukee, and it was great. We've never been able to do a video ever because we don't have the team or the resources to do that. And so we were able to do that, and we've launched it on our social media. And also when our e-commerce site launches, we're going to have a link to that video to promote Milwaukee. And so we're real excited about that.
That's great. And we're in the process actually of working on, I think, 6 more, something like that. Is that right, Chris? But one of the things with video is they're great search engine optimization boosts. So if enhancing your digital footprint is important, Google disproportionately rewards websites that have video and that have regular video updates. So they are a wonderfully versatile sales tool that can be used in social media, in email marketing. Your sellers can use them on their tablets. They also provide a boost in your e-commerce. You know, SKUs with video are going to see a higher increase in sales than SKUs without. And they're evergreen. They last for years. But the SEO boost is a huge reason to consider excited about that for you. Thank you, Tanya.
Absolutely.
Junior, we're going to hand it off to you. Let's talk about. I'm sorry. Did you have another comment? I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I just wanted to also add to you guys that we were able to utilize y'all for something other than co-op, and we're doing a great job on that as well. So it's another video, but it's for our own manufacturing division as well. So.
Right. Yeah. I'm excited to see how that one turns out. Some questions coming in here. We'll answer these later on, but we're making sure that we stay on top of those. Junior, I want to talk to you a little bit about your experience with co-op prior to working with us. What did you normally claim?
I would say, in looking at this and, reflecting back, I thought we did a pretty good job collecting co-op and, working the program to the very best of our abilities. What I found out is that I was wrong. Working with you guys, you've been able to help us, like Tanya had alluded to, work with a lot more manufacturers than we ever had before. And some of the suppliers that we work with, they're smaller suppliers, as compared to the big boys out there, but there's still funds available. And you guys helped us find very creative ways to utilize a lot of the smaller suppliers' funds that may have been just a couple $100 or a few $100, and put those together in a program that fit their need and allowed us to promote our company as well as our suppliers. So I thought that was pretty creative.
Thank you. Yeah, commingling funds is a great way for small and mid-sized suppliers to be able to put together the funds to do something, projects that are more substantial than the projects that you may have done in the past. So you're a great example of that. So on this slide, we have all kinds of things where most of these are commingled funds from multiple suppliers. You were kind of in a unique situation when we did this project. You were in the process of merging 2 companies together. Can you tell us about that merger and about how this project helped you support that messaging?
Yeah, Mid-State Supply, we've been in business since 1958 and traditionally has been an electrical or and utility distributor. And we acquired an industrial distributor back in 2017. So we were working to consolidate the 2 companies under the Mid-State brand. And one of the things that we did working with you guys is create branded marketing material that allowed us to tell that story about 2 companies becoming one. And it was a nice icebreaker, introducing customers to the Mid-State brand and having those conversations to get them, where there were no hiccups along the way with trying to do business with what they considered a new company. So this helped us have those conversations.
Great. Yeah, we talked about really trying to differentiate Mid-State, and with your electrical legacy, we created the theme "Giving You the Power," but giving you the power really wasn't about the electrical product line. It was really about the customer and giving them the power and really having that customer-centric point of view and how you differentiated your service compared to others. And so we created a brochure, line card, cut sheets for different vertical markets. We even did a video integrating that whole theme, flyers, and of course, sales promotion and merchandise. But one of the fun ones that we did for you was a calendar. It was a custom calendar, and you're in Louisiana. Cajun food is relatively popular down there. So talk about the response to this calendar.
Well, in Louisiana, all food is popular. We just prefer Cajun. We just prefer Cajun food. But yeah, that I wasn't really sure how that one was going to go over because the target audience are from Louisiana, and you're putting Louisiana favorite foods on there. But it was actually a huge hit. Our salespeople would go out and provide calendars to our customers, and then they would start getting requests for others. They wanted them for their office. They wanted them for their home. Well, man, when you've got your stuff out there like that, and it's constantly promoting your brand, I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Speaking of Cajun, well, sorry about that. We'll skip the video to keep going. We did something else food related, didn't we? We
did, and so Rivet MRO put together this. It started off to be a donut box, but we did use it for that purpose. It looks like an old school lunch pail, which was really appealing to a lot of people. But we actually use this for snacks. Down here in Louisiana, we have our own brand of sausage. It's called boudin. It's kind of like a rice dressing sausage, and it's very, very popular. So we would put sausage in there, biscuits, donuts, and that was hugely successful. One of the things that you guys have allowed us to do, and we've gotten this feedback directly from customers, is we're not a huge distributor. We're under 50 million, but we're not small either. We're too big to be small and too small to be big, if that makes sense. But one of the things that you guys have helped us do is make ourselves appear bigger than we are in the market. Most of the customers, when we use all the products that we've put together for you guys, they're like, we've never seen this kind of stuff, and particularly from a distributor of your size. We didn't realize you guys were this big. So it makes the customers view us in a very different way. But anyway, this was our food box. Enjoy a little lanyard from Midstate. And for those that may not be familiar with Louisiana, lanyard just means a little something extra. So enjoy a little something extra from Midstate. And that's kind of how we use that.
Awesome. And you can see we did the display in the tent here for events and commingling funds. You can see on both of these, we use items from multiple suppliers to be able to afford these projects. So it adds up.
It absolutely does. And in addition to the tent with the backdrop, the multiple table skirts, 6 foot and 8 foot table skirts, we did pop-up banner stands. So it gives us a lot more flexibility whenever we're trying to do customer events or trade shows or even our own field marketing summit. We use these tools to help promote that as well.
Good. Thank you for sharing.
You bet.
And then moving on, one last thing with you. We had one project that was really kind of unique, wasn't it? And it drove some pretty jaw-dropping results.
It did. We started off with what we call the sample box, and we had never done a project like this. And this one here was targeting, in Louisiana, it gets pretty hot down here. Heat is a real thing. And especially with a lot of the manufacturing plants and sawmills, plywood plants and stuff like that we call on, those workers are directly working in very extreme temperatures. So heat stress is a big deal. So we wanted to target that very early on. And we put together an order for these. You guys helped us come up with all the graphics. We worked with multiple suppliers to get samples to put into these boxes targeting heat stress and hydration. And what our team did, well, they actually made appointments with, HS&E managers, the safety managers, the purchasing managers, electrical and coordinators, plant managers, and scheduled appointments, brought in a sample box for every person that was going to be in that meeting, the decision makers, and educated them on products that were available to them and to help, mitigate heat stress and hydration. And the sales skyrocketed. Pickle juice, because whenever you use pickle juice shots, it gets that potassium back into your system. It keeps an employee from cramping. Sales shot up on that year over year, 480%. Niagara bottled water that we get from Proline shot up 465%. We literally had to redo some redesigns in our warehouse to make space for the additional truckloads of inventory we were taking in. Squincher sales went up about 20%. We already had pretty good market penetration with Squincher, but still saw an additional 20% in sales. And then at the time, we sold additional 550 units of new product. Then Radians was not in AD, but now they are. And it was actually Radians that we used for those new products. And it was hard hat bands, sweat bands, cooling towels, and things like that. So for the amount of investment that we put in for what we got, oh my gosh, I would encourage anyone with an outside sales team to use a tool like this. It will help you deliver results.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about how you talked about how your sales team used it, but when we talked about this before, you said that you used it both as a cross-selling device. So you would identify customers that weren't currently using safety products or buying them from you and let them know that you're using that they were available through Midstate, but it was also an account penetration tool with customers that you didn't do business with yet.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that we were tasked with in consolidating our companies is we're looking for electrical opportunities with traditional industrial customers, and vice versa, looking for industrial opportunities and safety opportunities with traditional electrical opportunities. And one of the things that this allowed us to do is have that icebreaker to go in and have those conversations with decision makers. And what it did was it allowed us to open our customers' eyes to the full capabilities of Midstate Supply Company, the new Midstate Supply Company. And that was just fantastic. And we're still utilizing these tools today.
Thank you. So, one of the things we saw with this box was a 20-to-1 return on investment. We just had a conversation with another client of ours that is traditionally known as a metalworking distributor, but they also do mill supply and safety. And the box was designed to help that cross-sell in terms of selling things beyond metalworking products, and they enjoyed a 35-to-1 return on investment on their box. So these things can have dramatic impact. And again, as small and mid-sized distributors, when you have funds from multiple suppliers, you can put them together to do something tremendously impactful like this. Thanks, Junior. Let's move on to Tommy. So Tommy, you have a similar story to tell, but it's a little bit different. Give us the background on Black & Company and what you did from a co-op standpoint before we started engaging, and then this new project that we're pretty excited about.
So prior to working with Rivet, Black & Company, we had an internal technique or approach that we use through our director of purchasing. We took all of our primary purchases by volume, understood the parameters of the co-op programs with those suppliers, and we tried to the best of our ability to conform with said parameters to realize those dollars. We didn't do a great job at it, and I kind of echo Junior's sentiment, because at the time, hindsight's 2020, we felt like we were doing okay, but in our first year, so on average prior to engaging Rivet, we were 25K on average co-op realization annually. It just simply wasn't a focus for us. We realized what we were missing out on in our first year with Rivet. Tim and his team realized over $120,000 in co-op funds over the course of that year, which we didn't even realize that was available to us, candidly. And one of the greatest aspects of how Rivet goes to market with their value proposition from our point of view is once you kind of create the structure of the co-op program and determine what you would like to go after, whether that's a focused approach with a few specific suppliers or going after every dollar on the table, it's more or less automated, hands off the wheel. Tim and his team, they contact the marketing departments within the suppliers. We had to do very little day-to-day ongoing follow-up. They would reach out to those departments and discuss the parameters of the programs, and they would let us know, when they successfully realized those funds. So it was very low maintenance and allowed us to do what we do best, and that's sell industrial and safety products to our end users. So when we realized quickly that this was a program that was going to impact our bottom line, with market share gains and enhanced exposure. It was a good program all in all. The project it continues to be a good program, excuse me. But what's great about it is it's Tim alluded to, it's no cost. I mean, we're utilizing that the funds from the available co-op to cover creative costs, cover Tim and his team and their activities, and cover the project as a whole. So it's a win-win in our eyes as far as working with Rivet, realizing those funds, and also kind of enhancing the image of our organization as well. So with respect to the project we're currently working on, we are working on a total brand refresh of our organization. And prior to this project, we had a tremendous number of cut sheets and vending sheets, line cards, folders that we take into presentations. We had a fairly professional image. The problem was none of it was consistent. So Tim and his group and Chris have kind of assisted us in making sure everything is consistent, branding, imaging. And again, without that marketing department, that was something that we weren't really good at. So it's been a huge benefit to us as far as consistent branding and marketing with our end users. And it's been outstanding all in all.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. You know, we had the chance to go through kind of a strategic review with Chris and I, and then your team. And one of the things that came back on a recurring basis was how you helped your customers operate more profitably. That kind of came through in a unique theme that we're really excited about: operate in the black. Talk about, you've had a chance to preview some of this with your suppliers. Talk about the reaction to operate in the black.
We liked the theme, and that was something that you guys presented a few concepts, and we really enjoyed the theme because it's, of course, a play on words with our organization's Black and Company, and the profit and loss at the end of the day. We're all in business to make money. We're not for profit organizations. So it's very indicative of how we're assisting our customers, and that's cost savings on an ongoing basis, cost avoidance, and documenting those savings. So as you can see on the flyer there, manufacturing stronger bottom lines was kind of the punchline, if you will. And we just feel that's what we do best, but we don't necessarily talk about it and market ourselves as, hey, we're going to help you save money. We're going to help you operate within, in line with industry best practices. So it's what we do. We're now talking about what we do and marketing ourselves in conformity with that.
Yeah, and our whole job is to kind of pull this whole thing together and come up with an elegant solution that kind of tells your story in a distinctive way. And your name gave us a great opportunity to do that. So we're excited about that campaign.
And the story that you told with very little background and intimate familiarity with respect to our organization. We were founded in 1920. We're fourth generation family owned and operated company. The inside, the story that you told within that flyer is really in line with who we are, our identity, how we got to this point in our company's history, how we've evolved. And you guys, your team does a great job with kind of intuitively knowing what your distributor partners are looking for in their finished product. So that's something just with the chemistry that our team and your team has. We feel great about the finished product here.
Awesome. Sharing that. We helped you find more, and so this is kind of, we probably should have put this slide first. This is the stuff that we've done in the past, and this is all great stuff. So we did videos and a lot of promotional items, especially during your 100th anniversary year. So we helped you with kind of extending your brand to recognize the 100th anniversary, which is a big deal, and great for promotion, and using promotional items just to drive that home. So these are kind of past uses. Gatorade Lift All with Morse, and we did a vending sell sheet for you too, and then that kind of morphed back into this now. So that'll be the uniform look moving forward, which I think is going to serve you well. Any thoughts on the stuff that we've done in the past, Tommy, before we move on?
Yes, we found that that our end users really, our customers really like co-brand. They like freebie swag. You know, they love the co-branded stuff. Anytime our sales group can go in and, you know, we're in a big central Illinois. Deer hunting is a way of life up in this neck of the woods. So we've done some camo themed projects, and we've done variations of projects, but a lot of it is kind of free goods and giveaway. We've tried to incentivize our customers with certain flyers. Hey, request a quote, as you can see on an MK Morse product, and receive a free hat. Some of those have been successful. So we like the variation in the approaches that Rivet takes. And Tim, you're good with your ideas that we don't necessarily have, as far as things that you may have been successful with, you know, in your previous role with the AD supplier, you were director of marketing as. So just bringing those ideas forth to us to help us brainstorm has been great, because it's not the way we think. You know, we're thinking about contract management and VMI and vending projects. We're not leading with marketing. So it's helped with making sure we're not missing anything on our radar as far as our go-to-market strategy.
Yeah. Good point. You know, it's interesting. You know, we have done some things, and we've been able to drive results with some programs, and some of them haven't driven results. So, you know, Sinatra has to clear his throat once in a while, right? But the idea is to get more at bats, and hopefully we get, you know, some singles and maybe the occasional home run or grand slam. But let's always learn, right? So we do something, and, you know, we're disappointed in the results. Let's figure out why it didn't have the kind of results we had hoped for, and figure out, how do we prevent that next time? How do we get smarter? One of the beauties of this model is that we can do that, you know, within our experience within a client like Black & Company, but we can also do something for Junior and learn something positive or negative, and then help you with your business, because, you know, there's some similarities, but you're not competitive. We just get smarter and smarter, and the more our partners, our client partners, are able to measure the effectiveness of things, the better job we can do in terms of consulting, and it just kind of feeds on itself. And so we continue to refine the model. So thank you for that. You know,
Tim, I think
moving on to.
Do you mind one other comment, if you don't mind? And I think I touched on this, but one of the biggest components that's attracted our organization to yours is simply ease of doing business. And with the communication aspect that I discussed a few moments ago, alluded to that, but everything from the follow-up to the staying on top of the projects, project execution coordination, and contacting those companies on behalf of us has been just, it's taken a heavy load off of us. So I think from a value prop standpoint, you guys are knocking it out of the park, and it's definitely benefiting your distributor partners.
I love hearing that. I'm proud of our team. You know, we've got a great team, and Chris is one of the stars on that team, and she's been essential in helping us continue to grow and to expand our offering and to drive results. You know, so it's one thing, in all three cases, with Tommy, with Junior, with Tommy, you know, we helped you find more money, but that's great. But the question becomes then, okay, we found the money, what do we do with it? And have we furthered the cause? Have we grown the business as a result of the spend? And the really gratifying thing is that the answer has universally been yes. You know, it's been impactful. In addition to being, you know, helpful in terms of extending budgets, it's not just free money lying around. It's free money that we're putting to productive use that both you and your suppliers appreciate, because everyone's seeing the benefit from it. So, you know, it was interesting, and I want to move to Kristen here. Chris is the director of marketing services for Rivet MRO, and we were able to steal her away from her previous employer, ITW Pro Brands. And we're thankful that she's a part of our team now. But we had the chance to work with Chris as a supplier on more than one occasion. And I think there's an interesting dichotomy here, because you know, so we have three people that have given us a wonderful insight to the distributor point of view. But I think it's valuable to understand the other side of that coin, because the people with the budget are the suppliers. And there is some tension in that process, and especially as it comes to promotional products. So Tommy, I know you're a big fan. And by the way, one of the other things I wanted to mention was, with promotional products, we do a lot of them, but typically we try to tie them back to some sort of promotion. So you see the one on the screen here with Morse. And so we tie that to some, get a quote and we'll give you the hat rather than just giving out the hats. We create some business driver that's attached to the hat. But you still have the hats to give away if you want to give them away. So, but it gives you a reason to believe that there's a business building activity that's taking place while the hat's being given away. But Chris, one of the things I want to talk about with you is from the supplier's perspective. What sorts of projects are going to be the most interesting to you, and are you going to be more likely to fund and support, and maybe support with some extra enthusiasm, if you know what I mean, when you're given those requests?
From the supplier standpoint, when you consider the budget and the allocation that you put into co-op dollars, the supplier really does want to use that money. They want to see it spent because the return on investment benefits them as well as the distributor. And so from the perspective of the supplier, we always looked at projects, especially from a digital footprint. It's really nice to be able to approve projects that get our logo on a hat. But then when you combine that with an effort that's an email campaign tied to you get this free hat if we are allowed to quote a specific line or go out and do an audit of some sort, that benefits us more from a supplier standpoint. And so anything tied to digital where you can tie back true results, actually show your ROI, are the projects that always get considered first.
Yeah, we see that more and more where suppliers have a vested interest in expanding their digital footprint, and you being the distributor, expanding your digital footprint alongside them with their brand as a part of that footprint. So we see more and more interest in pursuing things like videos or clickable catalogs or email and social media campaigns, and less in promotional products. So you had experience when you were on the supplier side with a project that really focused on the digital. Can you take us through that?
Sure. So this was a project where my customer at the time, A&M, came to us and said, we'd really like to use some co-op funds here to do some promotional work around your line of disinfectants. And of course, this was in the day and age of COVID ramping up and, unprecedented times from not only the world standpoint, but certainly industrial business. And so with A&M coming to us and wanting to utilize these funds in the way that they approached us through Rivet, we were able to really talk. And actually this business interaction with Tim is really what piqued my interest in Rivet as an organization and really it made things click for me, especially from the supplier standpoint and wanting to work more with Rivet and the projects that they brought to me, because they gave me the opportunity from the supplier standpoint to align with our business strategy at the time, to be able to support products that I knew we could supply during a very questionable time of supply, which I know we all are in still, and we currently face those challenges. And so through alignment with working with Rivet, I could say, we can support these lines of disinfectants. I know we can supply them. I pulled out some products that I knew were very questionable from a supply standpoint, and we're able to really just focus in on being able to be a true partner in this type of promotion, which is kind of a unique scenario from a supplier and a smaller distributor standpoint. So
it was really interesting with A&M because, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just going to mention, so with this project, we were actually able, with all of the co-op funds that we had available for A&M, we were able to produce a really high level premium looking graphics animation video. We did an interactive brochure that was coupled with an email campaign that focused in on highlighting the features and benefits of the products that were highlighted in the catalog. And then they also were able to share that content to their social media, which at the time is a pretty unique project from one of the distributors of this size for us.
Yeah, great cross-channel campaign. The interesting thing was, the world had changed so dramatically. This was in May of 2020 that I think we did this program. And plants were closed. People weren't buying LPS and scrubs operating, but there was a huge thirst and need for disinfecting, but supply chain was a huge issue. And A&M had a great business with LPS and scrubs, but they couldn't sell it because it wasn't being used. So we were able to help them pivot and go from selling LPS and scrubs to selling disinfectants, and there was demand for it, but we gave them the tools with which to satisfy that demand. And you can see the results at the bottom of the screen here. We increased, anything that they had sold, they'd sold I think $7,000 in ITW disinfecting products the previous year over year. So anything they had sold was basically by mistake at that point, right? And so we were able to basically replace their LPS and scrub sales with disinfectants. So we increased disinfecting sales by more than 31x. So interesting power to that. I want to keep going here. There is a video. I'm going to play a few seconds of the video so you can get a feel for it. Every time we do a video for
now more than
customers,
ever, businesses are aware of the need for quality disinfecting and sanitizing in their facilities. A&M Industrial has you covered with a wide range of ITW Pro Brands products that help you get the job done right, including Spray 9, scrubs, and Diamond disinfectants and scrubs hand sanitizing wipes. Disinfecting, sanitizing, and cleaning are not all equal.
So the rest of the video goes through some education in terms of talking about what is disinfecting versus sanitizing, how do you do these things, and how do you make sure that you're choosing the right products. Then we paired that with a clickable catalog that's featured different ITW Pro Brands products in it, and there are actually links then from that catalog into e-commerce page to facilitate direct purchase.
Now,
along those lines, Chris, you were involved with another A&M project that we thought was kind of interesting in the clickable catalog. Talk about that and why, from a supplier perspective, that's had such interest for you.
So from the supplier standpoint on this piece, again, it's all about ROI and the aspect of this piece being evergreen. It's much easier from a supplier standpoint to be able to approve funds and request for funds when you can either tie back click-through rates, tie those into increased sales, or even tie them into your own website from a supplier standpoint. And so in this project, I believe we were able to incorporate some of the videos that the supplier could supply, that we as a supplier provided. So they were able to actually insert the hyperlink into these digital catalogs for our own videos, as well as tie back a click through so that you could purchase our products directly through the A&M website. And so when the funds aren't completely available to do videos from scratch that are A&M branded, there were other opportunities that we saw from a supplier standpoint to benefit ROI and SEO boosts and things like that too, because the willingness to combine any digital or online aspect into a single piece that really is evergreen, because once you post this on your website, all you have to do is just maintain those links if they ever change. Just had huge benefit from a supplier standpoint.
Consistently strong feedback from suppliers in support of requests for clickable catalogs. They love it. One of them said it's kind of like the gateway into e-commerce. A lot of distributors haven't made a full plunge into e-commerce, and this is kind of that. Even if it's a gateway into it, and kind of lets you stick your toe in the water a little bit if you have some e-commerce functionality. But it certainly works with distributors that have a robust e-commerce solution in play. But our experience is that people without co-op programs, at least no formal programs, are probably 2 to 3 more times likely to say yes to requests like this. And stunningly, we've had suppliers who never say yes to co-op say yes to requests for clickable catalogs. So very popular. I'm trying to open this one, and of course my computer isn't playing nice. So we'll keep going here. Somehow I can get this open, but I don't want to delay things any further. So just to wrap things up, we're going to have some questions in a few minutes here, but I wanted to give you some tips. And by the way, we'll have a copy of this. It will be sent out afterwards, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. But this is based on a blog post that we have on our site, and there'll be a link to that when you get the slide deck. But a handful of things that you can do today to improve your co-op marketing. So first of all, I'd urge everyone to keep track of their manufacturer contacts. It's interesting, when we start an engagement with a distributor, part of the process is we ask for your supplier, spend with them the previous year, and the name of your rep, their phone number, and their email. And it's surprising how difficult that is in some cases, because that isn't centrally located. So having all that ready is going to make the process easier. One of the key things in this process, and I wish we would have had a chance to talk about this with some of the other folks because we've done this, is to make sure your sales team has a voice in the process. But so often marketing happens in a vacuum. And we would really urge you to talk to your sales team and understand real world, what are their needs, what sorts of tools would be most helpful to them. That's how the sample box was conceived, because of collaboration with sellers saying we need better ways to get samples in customers' hands, especially in the COVID era. But they seem to have legs well beyond the COVID era, assuming that we are in fact beyond it. Here's hoping. But talk to your sellers, see what they need, engage with them, so you're more likely to get real world ideas, and you're also more likely to get buy-in when you launch the marketing initiatives. As you talk to your suppliers, ask them if they have a co-op program. Only, I'm going to say 35%-ish of suppliers have a formal program. Another 35 or 40% will say, well, show us something and we'll consider it. So they have what we call an informal program. But if they do have a program, save those co-op program details and put them in a file. And you can refer back to them. AD also has a resource with AD suppliers that have co-op available to you. Involve the manufacturer in the planning process early in the year. I can't tell you how much we do at the end of the year when it's kind of a sprint to the finish line, because the year end is approaching and the dollars go away. But the earlier you start the process, the earlier you engage with the manufacturer, the more likely they are to have support for your ideas. And by the way, just because they don't have a formal program, that doesn't mean that they don't have dollars available. So just because you don't have a copy of their rules, or they say, no, we don't have a program, I wouldn't be shy. Still make the ask. That's one of the places where we really succeed. But when you do that, you need to be prepared to demonstrate how you're going to drive and track results. More and more, there's scrutiny on these dollars at the supplier level. And that's why they're reluctant to spend dollars on promotional items, because it's difficult to track promotional items and tie them back to a sale unless they're part of some sort of sales promotion. So the more you can show the manufacturer that you're being thoughtful with the dollars and you have optimism that that's going to create a return, the more likely you are to get their cooperation and their support. The other thing that I think is really important, is often overlooked, is to try to tie your strategic objectives back to the supplier strategic objectives. What are those areas of overlap that you have in common from a market focus standpoint or from a product standpoint? Focus your spend request there to make sure that it's important to them as well as important to you. If you haven't already, develop an overarching marketing positioning strategy and support it with your co-op funds. And here's what I mean by that. So if you take a look, especially at the work that we did for Midstate and for Black & Company, we had pretty unique messaging there. And one of my contentions is that oftentimes if you were to take the corporate brochure for distributor A and distributor B and distributor C and mix them up in a hat and you put the logos on somebody else's brochure, would anybody really notice? Because you're kind of saying the same thing. Here, with Midstate and with Black & Company, there's a distinctive look and a distinctive message and something that really differentiates them in the marketplace. It can't be confused with anyone else. And so the question is, have you done that? If you haven't, we can help you do that, and we can help you support that with co-op marketing funds. And if you have done that, co-op is a great place to extend your brand. Number 9, ask about MDF, market development funds. Sometimes they're the same thing as co-op, but sometimes they're a separate bucket of money entirely. The co-op funds might be formal dollars that are available to you based upon your previous year's purchases, but MDF funds might be a fund over to the side that your regional manager has discretion on, and they can add more fuel to the fire if they're excited about your request and believe that it's going to drive results for them. Number 10, don't let internal resources drive your co-op planning strategy. In other words, just because you don't have that capability in-house doesn't mean that you don't have access to that capability. Don't think we can't do it. There's somebody else that can help you do it. And I have one good idea of who that might be. But the idea is, don't be driven by what's available to you at your fingertips. There are resources beyond that that can help you leverage that. And then I would encourage you to commit to the plan. This is a process. Test, measure, refine. Let's see what works, understand why it works or why it doesn't work, and get smarter and improve the model and do it over and over again and narrow that down and become more and more successful. So with that, that concludes the formal part of our presentation. I wanted to open up the questions, and I will hand that back to Becca to facilitate questions.
Yeah, we've got one question in the chat also. It's, Are the videos a template, or will each one be custom to the distributor and vendor?
So good question, and that's from Sonia Bynum. Sonia, every time we do videos for a distributor, we create a unique look and feel. So there is a familial look for all the videos that we did for Black & Company. The videos for Black & Company would never look like the videos that we did for Midstate or for you. So we try to use the same voice, the same music, and create that continuity and use this as a branding exercise so everyone has a different look and feel. I hope that answers your question. If not, ask more questions, chat.
We also have another one. How do you make sure you get all the co-op funds you've earned?
A really good question, and I think one of the things I think we missed a poll question here, and the other poll question might be interesting to throw that up. I don't know if you can or not, but it was, and if we don't have it, so the first question we asked was how much do you think you're missing out on, and the second question is now how much do you think you're missing out on after learning a little bit more, and I think the answer to that question is really here in these 10.5 tips. It's really getting organized around co-op and having intentional conversations about your suppliers, about the co-op opportunities available with them or the MDF opportunities, and understanding them and trying to create the alignment with your needs and theirs as best as you can. And again, start early. I can't emphasize enough, starting early pays big dividends.
Awesome. We probably only have time for about 2 more, just go over a little, but do you get input from the sales team on how to use the co-op funds?
Yeah, so that's something else we just talked about, but absolutely talk to your sellers. They understand what your customers need. They understand what their needs are. A sales-friendly marketing team is a great ally. So absolutely, yes, important, critical step.
And I think the last one, I think this one will kind of maybe encompass maybe the way that things have changed in the past few years with COVID, but how will the uses of co-op funds change because of the crisis, maybe even going forward, or how have they changed?
I think number one, COVID certainly created a greater focus on the already increasing focus of increasing the digital footprint. When you can't get inside of a plant, your website is your next best thing to being there. Sample boxes were another way of doing that. You can't physically enter the plant, but you can get your samples in the door in an impactful way. But I would also think, we've all seen the supply chain issues, and I think, taking a look at how co-op applies to supply chain, we need to be smarter as we apply the funds and choose which brands and which products for those brands we're promoting, because the last thing you want to do is spend those funds and create demand that you can't fulfill.
Awesome. So I think that's all the time that we have today. I don't want to go over too much, but you'll be seeing a communication going out with all of the PowerPoint slides and a copy of the presentation with all of the panelists. So stay tuned. That should be coming out within the next week.
Rebecca, thanks for your help. Tommy, Junior, Tanya, Chris, thank you for helping with this. Great work, and most importantly, thank you all to those that attended. Hopefully you got something out of it, and we would love to help you with your co-op marketing if you might be a good fit. So thanks for your time, and good selling.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, folks.